For decades, work was defined by physical presence. Offices symbolized productivity, supervision, and professional identity. Then, almost overnight, remote work shifted from a niche privilege to a global necessity. What began as a crisis response has now evolved into one of the most transformative labor movements in modern history. The early phase of remote work was reactive. Companies scrambled to maintain operations. Employees adapted kitchen tables into workstations. And digital tools replaced meeting rooms. At first, many leaders believed this shift would be temporary. However, as months passed, something unexpected happened. Productivity did not collapse. In many cases, it improved. This realization marked the first major turning point. Organizations discovered that output was not inherently tied to physical location. Employees, freed from long commutes and rigid schedules, often reported higher focus and better work-life balance. As trust replaced constant supervision, performance metrics shifted from hours logged to outcomes delivered. Technology played a decisive role in this transformation. Cloud computing, project management platforms, video conferencing, and real-time collaboration tools matured rapidly. Artificial intelligence further enhanced remote workflows by automating routine tasks, improving scheduling, and analyzing performance trends. Work became less about where you sit and more about how effectively you contribute. At the same time, employee expectations fundamentally changed. Flexibility became a priority, not a perk. Workers began to reassess their relationship with work itself, questioning traditional career paths, office politics, and burnout culture. Many sought roles that allowed autonomy, geographic freedom, and purpose-driven engagement. This cultural shift forced companies to compete differently. Instead of offering corner offices or free snacks, employers began emphasizing flexibility, mental well-being, and meaningful work. Remote-friendly policies became powerful recruitment tools, expanding talent pools beyond city limits and national borders. However, this evolution was not without challenges. Communication gaps emerged. Feelings of isolation increased for some employees. Managers struggled to maintain team cohesion without physical proximity. These issues revealed an important truth. Remote work is not simply office work performed at home. It requires a fundamentally different approach to leadership, communication, and organizational design. As remote work stabilized, hybrid models began to emerge. These blended approaches aim to balance flexibility with collaboration, allowing employees to split time between home and shared spaces. The hybrid model signaled a deeper realization. The future of work is not binary, it is adaptive. By the end of this phase, one conclusion became clear. Remote work was no longer an experiment. It had become a permanent pillar of the modern workforce. The question was no longer whether remote work would continue, but how it would evolve. As remote work enters its next phase, the focus is shifting from adoption to optimization. Organizations and individuals are now refining how remote work functions, scales, and integrates with long-term strategy. One of the most significant emerging trends is results-based performance evaluation. Traditional metrics such as attendance and visible effort are losing relevance. Instead, companies are prioritizing measurable outcomes, impact, and value creation. This shift empowers high performers while challenging outdated management practices built on control rather than trust. Another major trend is the rise of asynchronous work. Teams distributed across time zones are reducing dependence on real-time meetings. Written communication, shared documentation, and recorded updates are becoming standard. This approach allows employees to work during their most productive hours, reduces meeting fatigue, and increases inclusivity for global teams. Digital workspaces are also evolving rapidly. Virtual offices, immersive collaboration environments, and AI-powered assistants are redefining how teams interact. Artificial intelligence is increasingly used to summarize meetings, prioritize tasks, detect burnout risks, and personalize workflows. Rather than replacing workers, these systems augment human decision-making and creativity. Global talent decentralization is another defining trend. Companies are no longer limited to hiring within commuting distance. Skilled professionals from smaller cities and developing regions are accessing opportunities once restricted to major hubs. This shift is redistributing economic power and challenging traditional salary structures based on location. At the same time, employees are becoming more intentional about boundaries. The early days of remote work blurred lines between personal and professional life, often leading to overwork. The future trend emphasizes sustainable productivity. Clear working hours, digital detox policies, and mental health support are becoming essential components of remote-first cultures. Leadership styles are also changing. Effective remote leaders focus on clarity, empathy, and communication rather than micromanagement. Emotional intelligence, transparency, and trust are emerging as core leadership competencies. Teams thrive when leaders prioritize psychological safety and shared purpose. Education and skill development are adapting as well. Continuous learning, self-directed upskilling, and micro-credentials are becoming critical for remote professionals. As automation reshapes job roles, adaptability and lifelong learning define long-term career resilience. Looking ahead, remote work is evolving into a broader concept. Location-independent value creation. The future workforce will be defined not by offices, but by networks of collaboration, supported by technology and guided by human creativity. Decoding the future of remote work reveals a powerful insight. Work is no longer a place, it is an ecosystem. Those who understand this shift and adapt with intention will not only survive, but thrive in the evolving world of work. As remote work matures, its influence is extending far beyond schedules and locations. It is fundamentally reshaping how people define careers, success, and professional identity. In the past, career growth was often tied to visibility, being present in the office, attending meetings, and engaging in informal interactions. In a remote-first world, visibility is being replaced by credibility. Professionals are increasingly recognized for expertise, problem-solving ability, and consistent delivery rather than proximity to leadership. This shift is democratizing opportunity. Introverted employees, caregivers, and individuals outside traditional corporate centers are gaining greater access to meaningful roles and leadership pathways. Career paths themselves are becoming less linear. Remote work enables portfolio careers where individuals combine multiple roles, freelance projects, consulting work, or entrepreneurial ventures. Instead of climbing a single corporate ladder, many professionals are building flexible career ecosystems that evolve with their interests, life stages, and economic conditions. Organizational culture is also undergoing a profound transformation. Culture is no longer reinforced by office decor, shared lunches, or physical rituals. Instead, it is communicated through language, decision-making, and digital behavior. Written values, transparent communication, and consistent leadership actions now play a central role in shaping how employees experience their workplace. Remote-first organizations are learning that culture must be intentional. Onboarding processes are more structured. Documentation replaces informal knowledge sharing. Feedback systems are clearer and more frequent. When done well, this intentionality creates inclusive environments where expectations are explicit and employees feel aligned with the organization's mission. However, this evolution introduces new risks. Without careful design, remote environments can feel transactional or isolating. Employees may struggle with belonging or disengage emotionally. As a result, successful organizations are investing in virtual community building, mentorship programs, and periodic in-person gatherings that strengthen human connection without sacrificing flexibility. Another critical shift is the changing relationship between work and geography. Professionals are increasingly choosing where to live based on quality of life rather than office location. Smaller cities, rural areas, and emerging regions are attracting talent seeking affordability, balance, and community. This migration is quietly reshaping local economies, real estate markets, and regional development patterns. In this new context, careers are becoming more self-directed, Individuals are expected to manage their energy, learning, and growth with greater autonomy. The future belongs to those who can navigate ambiguity, communicate clearly in digital environments, and continuously adapt to evolving expectations. Remote work, therefore, is not just a logistical change. It is redefining how people relate to work, organizations, and themselves. Looking ahead, the future of remote work will be shaped by how well individuals, organizations, and societies prepare for its long-term implications. The next phase is not about novelty, but sustainability, resilience, and strategic alignment. One of the most pressing challenges will be maintaining fairness and equity. As global hiring expands, companies must address disparities in pay, access to resources, and career advancement. Transparent compensation frameworks, inclusive leadership practices, and ethical global employment standards will become increasingly important. Governments and institutions are also adapting. Labor laws, taxation systems, and social protections were designed for location-based employment. Remote work is forcing policymakers to rethink regulations around cross-border work, digital nomadism, and social security. Countries that adapt quickly may attract talent and investment, while others risk falling behind. Education systems will play a critical role in shaping the remote workforce of the future. Traditional degrees are being complemented by practical skills, online certifications, and experiential learning. Communication, digital literacy, self-management, and critical thinking are emerging as foundational competencies for remote professionals across all industries. Technology will continue to evolve, but human judgment will remain central. Automation and artificial intelligence will handle routine processes, while humans focus on creativity, strategy, and ethical decision-making. The most valuable workers will be those who can collaborate effectively with intelligent systems rather than compete against them. From an organizational perspective, long-term success will depend on adaptability. Companies that treat remote work as a static policy may struggle. Those that view it as an evolving system, continuously refined through feedback, experimentation, and learning, will gain a lasting advantage. For individuals, the future demands intentionality. Remote work offers freedom, but it also requires discipline, boundaries, and self-awareness. Building a sustainable remote career means investing in skills, relationships, and well-being over time, not just chasing flexibility. Decoding the future of remote work ultimately reveals a deeper transformation. Work is becoming more human-centered, outcome-driven, and globally connected. The office is no longer the center of value creation. People are. Those who embrace this shift with clarity and purpose will not merely adapt to the future of work. They will help define it. As remote work becomes a lasting reality, rather than a transitional phase, its psychological and emotional dimensions are coming into sharper focus. While flexibility and autonomy are often celebrated benefits, the long-term human impact of working remotely requires careful attention. One of the most significant psychological shifts is the changing experience of isolation. Without daily in-person interactions, many professionals report feelings of disconnection. Even when communication tools are abundant, digital interaction, while efficient, does not fully replace spontaneous conversations, shared physical experiences, or nonverbal cues. Over time, this absence can affect motivation, engagement, and emotional well-being. To address this, forward-thinking organizations are redefining connection. Rather than forcing constant online presence, they are creating meaningful touchpoints, intentional check-ins, small group collaborations, and virtual spaces designed for informal interaction. The emphasis is shifting from quantity of communication to quality of connection. Another critical factor is cognitive overload. Remote environments often rely heavily on written communication, notifications, and multitasking across multiple platforms. This constant mental switching can lead to fatigue, reduced creativity, and decision paralysis. As a response, individuals and teams are learning to simplify workflows, reduce unnecessary meetings, and establish clear communication norms. Work-life integration also presents complex challenges. While remote work eliminates commuting, it can blur boundaries between personal and professional life. Without physical separation, some employees struggle to disengage, leading to extended work hours and chronic stress. Sustainable remote work requires deliberate boundary setting, such as defined work schedules, designated workspaces, and organizational respect for personal time. Mental health awareness is becoming central to remote work culture. Burnout prevention, psychological safety, and emotional resilience are no longer secondary concerns. Leaders are being trained to recognize early signs of disengagement and exhaustion, fostering environments where asking for support is normalized rather than stigmatized. Importantly, remote work is also reshaping personal identity. Many individuals are rediscovering aspects of themselves previously constrained by rigid schedules: parenthood, creativity, community involvement, and health. This rebalancing has the potential to make work more sustainable and meaningful when supported by thoughtful systems and empathetic leadership. Ultimately, the human success of remote work depends on acknowledging that productivity is inseparable from well-being. The future of work will reward those who understand that people are not machines, and that sustainable performance emerges from psychological health, not constant availability. The final transformation driven by remote work is philosophical. As traditional structures dissolve, Society is re-examining what productivity, success, and work truly mean in a digital age. For much of modern history, productivity was measured by time spent and physical presence. Remote work is accelerating a shift toward value-based contribution. The central question is no longer how long someone works, but what impact their work creates. This redefinition challenges deeply ingrained assumptions about effort, discipline, and merit. Success, too, is being reimagined. Career advancement is no longer solely associated with titles, offices, or hierarchical progression. For many, success now includes autonomy, time sovereignty, purpose, and the ability to align work with personal values. Remote work has expanded the definition of a fulfilling career beyond traditional corporate metrics. This shift is influencing how organizations measure performance and reward achievement. Transparent goals, clear deliverables, and meaningful feedback are replacing vague expectations and subjective evaluations. When success is clearly defined and fairly measured, trust becomes the foundation of professional relationships. At a societal level, remote work is contributing to a broader reconsideration of work's role in human life. As automation increases and knowledge work becomes more efficient, questions emerge about balance, sustainability, and dignity. Work is no longer seen solely as a means of survival, but as one dimension of a well-lived life. The future of remote work invites a more intentional relationship with labor. It encourages individuals to ask not only what they do, but while they do it. It challenges organizations to design systems that serve both economic goals and human flourishing. Decoding the future of remote work ultimately reveals a profound truth. The transformation is not about technology, location, or efficiency alone. It is about redefining how humans collaborate, create value, and find meaning in an interconnected world. Remote work is not the end of work as we know it. It is the beginning of a more conscious, flexible, and human-centered era of work.